All right. Good evening and welcome to the January edition of the Port of Cascade Locks Port Commission meeting. It is January 6th, 2026, about a little after 6 p.m. We will start with the roll call
President Lorraine,
here.
Vice President Clute,
Here.
Commissioner Nats,
Here.
Commissioner Gan is excused, and Commissioner Dodd.
Here.
Commissioner Gans will likely show up. He had some technical issues as well, but he is working on getting here.
Modifications, additions, and changes to the agenda.
I do have a modification to the agenda. We have a short window with Tommy Brooks tonight. I'd like to, and I've run this past our presenters so they're aware. We're going to swap items 2 and 3. So we'll handle our business action items to begin the meeting and then end with the special presentation by Jetty Light and Jim Andrews.
All right, perfect. So we will begin with our business action items. Consider professional services contract for the Bridge of the Gods Centennial Celebration Event Director.
I'm going to pull that up real quick.
You want me to share my screen?
No, it's okay. I've got it right here. Okay, so Jason's contract. So this item is consideration for a personal services agreement related to the planning of the Bridge of the Gods. That's celebration in 2026. I sat down with Jason as well as Tommy Brooks, and we went through this. So this is the bullet points that we discussed at the previous meeting, now laid out in contract form. We've received Jason's signature on it, and he is awaiting my signature on it. We're happy to answer any questions or to walk through the proposal.
I'll just chime in. It looked good. I didn't see anything with it when I reviewed it.
We're really excited to get going. We're really excited for him. He's going to be a really integral part for making sure that the bones of this this celebration are up and running. It's very closely going to mirror PCT in its setup and sort of structure and design. If it ain't broke, don't fix it is sort of the mentality we're going into this with. And that really leaves a lot of freedom to the Bridge of the Gods Celebration Committee subcommittee to really focus on the programming of that event, which is the part that they're excited about and the part that they feel like they can be the best at. So, kind of consider Jason, the stage hand, the makeup, the props, all that stuff, and the Bridge of the Gods committee kind of being the actors in all of this. So whether it's our three-legged sack race or the hiding contest or whatever they come up with, and I'm being silly when I talk about those. There's actually some really cool historical programming, some speakers that they like. Where there will be a band. Jason's handling that. Some artistical things that are going to happen. So they have some great ideas from programming that they really need to work on and really want to work on. Jason's going to be in the background making sure that this all kind of goes off without a hitch, and that definitely frees up staff to continue to focus on our strategic business plan and the things that the commission have us focused on. I do imagine that, in the final push of September, you'll see us start to recruit me and Parker and Janetta and Nikki and probably Genevieve doing some last minute, how do we help? What do we need? All hands on deck. But the initial piece of it is definitely going to be, Jason. So
One quick question is, I'm assuming that everything we've been doing, we're ahead of schedule as it relates to we're not in crunch time and we're ahead of schedule. So if we're assigned all this agreement and move forward, when does action start happening?
Jason has already started working, and we're not being charged for it at this point. Me and him, the first time we met was early in December, and I explained to him, hey, this is going to take longer than you or me want this to take, just by the nature of us being a local government and the hoops we have to jump through. And so we sort of had a goodwill handshake of, we both think this is going to go this direction, so let's start doing the work now rather than being behind the gun. So we're right where we should be. Thanks to Jason for taking that bull by the horns.
And just to confirm, nothing substantial has changed between what we originally saw before this contract was shared and what we see in front of us now.
That's correct.
Okay.
The only things that have changed is more additional protection for the port, as determined that by legal counsel, by Tommy. So Tommy made sure he went in there and protected the port in all the ways that we need to be protected. But the bullet points of the negotiation remain the same.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to approve this? Is that
We
what
do.
I'm hearing?
Yeah, all three of these next things are action items.
Okay. Do we have a pre-written motion, or should I just wing it and just say
Yeah,
I?
you can probably just wing it, I think. I thought there was a
Yeah, it's in there. I can go ahead and read it off.
18.
Yeah. Move to approve the personal services agreement with Outdoor Viewfinder LLC for Centennial event planning services related to the Bridge of the Gods Centennial celebration, and authorize the executive director to execute the agreement and administer the contract.
I
Second.
second the. Oh,
Yep. Terry, you got it.
All right. There's been a motion and a second to approve the contract for the Centennial Celebration. All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All righty, moving right along. Adopt Resolution 2026-1A, resolution opting to limit liability for certain claims arising from the use of public trails or structures in public easements and unimproved right of way pursuant to RS 105.668. That's it.
Perfect.
All right.
So this item is, as sort of already highlighted, is a resolution that allows the port to opt into state authorized liability protection related to non-motorized trail use. For cities under, I want to say it was 500,000 people, this is a resolution you have to adopt. If you're over 500,000 people, you're automatically in. So most of the state, local governments will be adopting this resolution. It was actually sent to us by SDAO as a template. We forwarded that template over to Tommy and had him take a look. He had us add a few different things to it that add even more protection to us and more specifics to it. So adopting this resolution is a risk management step and does not change public access or create maintenance obligations. Again, we can answer any questions. We do have Tommy Brooks on the line if anyone has any specifics that they want to talk about. This is recent legislation and has been kind of stirring around for the last couple of years after an event. What was that, like Cannon Beach, or might have been in Newport even, I can't remember. But anyway,
So
I guess,
comment.
oh, go ahead, Ted.
So kind of following up on my email that I'd sent over with a couple comments. And I don't know if these have been added or not, but did it make sense to add the climb trail system? Because in the kind of description of the variety of trails used by the public for recreational transportation, I noticed it listed easy climb, segments of the Trail Gorge 400, and I was just going to suggest we also add the climb trail system in general, kind of a general statement. Was that added, or?
we didn't add the climb trail climb trail system. So a couple things here is one, Tommy recommended don't be all inclusive. If you become all inclusive, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, we left something out, and there's a little bit of a loophole there. This should particularly cover us in all locations, but felt like it was a little stronger if we added some of the well-known ones. I'll let Tommy weigh in on the climb system because that's on. I mean, really all the port does is administer the grant on those properties, right? So because that's a Forest Service property, I don't know that even if there was a claim that they would be able to make a claim against us.
Yeah, it's really unknown how this like the scope of this legislation is going to unfold. It's in my view is kind of oddly written, and the fact that you have to opt in at all is weird. because there's no trade-off. But I just wanted the like kind of the clear ownership piece that the port has to be in there for no other reason to have a factual basis for adopting the resolution instead of just doing it willy-nilly. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but Jeremiah captured my thinking correctly, which is, we're not trying to make a full list of everything that is or isn't covered. We just want some evidence in there that we have these kinds of trails, and we'd like the protection from those. And then, if the statute is going to be enforced the way it's enforced is going to have to be interpreted. So, whether or not how far it extends and what kinds of uses and, maybe anticipating your other question, e-bikes or other things, all that stuff is kind of, I think, to be determined. So what you have in front of you is just what I think is a good basic bare bones, like let's opt in and we've done what we need to do.
Okay.
Before we get a motion to adopt this resolution, we can adopt it by title only. Commission also has the option for us to read the entire resolution. So I want to make sure that's noted.
Yeah. All right. So just and then also just for clarification, so everyone understands why I was thinking about adding anything that had to do with trails that were not on our actual property, just for your benefit, Tommy, is that the port has donated money in a couple different fashions. One for to be a partner that's building some of the trails on the climb trail system. Partnership would be everything from being involved in being a co-sponsor of grants to funding a NEPA assessment and also helping pay for maintenance costs for some of the volunteer equipment and things that we've been built. So just so you have an understanding of where we've been involved. But I was thinking the same thing as like if someone had an issue, they would be going after the Forest Service because they're the landowner, not us just because we were part of it. And the only reason why I thought even to add the climb trail is because the Gorge Trail 400 was listed, and that, from my knowledge, is all on Forest Service. So if that's listed, that's why I was thinking that
there's a small
climb
part
would
of
be.
there's a small part of the 400 that runs across right where it pops out by the parking lot up there, kind of wraps around our property. There's a small piece that crosses it there.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think to answer or to address that, Commissioner Dodd, if something happens on the Forest Service land, but we have some tangential relationship to the trail, how it was done, we would still attempt to invoke this protection in the statute if we can. And I don't think there's anything about the resolution that limits that because we are opting into the full protection of the statute as it's intended by the legislature. We don't know how broad that intent was from the legislature. So we're opting into the whole thing, and we're not trying to dot every I and cross every T about where that would apply, because that's going to be determined as a matter of law.
Okay. And then the last comment I'll have, and then I'll turn this over to Commissioner Nance, is on the e-bike. The reason why I even brought that up is that e-bikes are kind of a new recreational vehicle per se. And right now I've seen things pop up in different, just as a cyclist, I've seen things pop up in different ways. Like, for example, on personal residential insurance as it relates to insuring if someone broke in your garage and stole a bike. I had a friend of mine just recently have his claim denied when someone broke in the garage and stole their e-bike because the insurance company came back and said that is not a bicycle. That's an e-bike. It's motorized. So anyhow, there's this big thing going on. Some land managers allow it, some people don't. Is it a real bike? Is it not a real bike? What's the classification? So anyway, just to kind of be proactive, I just thought, including it in there was a way to kind of CYA, because it's not like we say we don't allow them, but if they're on there and something happens, I was just thinking it'd be a way of also, especially when I was once again comparing it to the fact that we, in this statement, it actually called out other activities, and that would be picnicking, hiking, walking, biking, nature study, educational activities, water skiing, water sports, viewing of enjoying historical, archaeological, And it got into some details, finite details. I was like, if they're going to get finite details in those ways of just like, I'm going to go hike and I'm going to go view, if they're getting into specifics about, viewing archaeological things, I was thinking that the bikes might need to be specified too. But once again, I'll leave that up to you guys to make a decision. I was just bringing it up for a point of reference to think about.
Little forest bathing in there.
Forest, is it? It could be.
Yeah, so I think this is the shade of the same issue. The statute that was adopted referred to bicycles and other non-motorized vehicles. And of course it doesn't define that, nor does it point back to like the transportation code or anything like that. So I haven't had a chance to look at the legislative history to see if that's covered or not. But I think the way that it's been structured in the model that the SDA sent out is trying to track the legislative language. We can't expand it beyond what the statute says. And so we could try to add stuff in there, but it could be for naught. If this limit doesn't apply to e-bikes, it doesn't apply to e-bikes, regardless of what we say.
Okay, that's all I
love the fact that you guys are very thorough.
My questions were addressed, so we're good here.
Well, I'll make a motion that the Port of Cascade Locks Commission adopt resolution number 2026-1, a resolution opting to limit liability for certain claims arising from the use of public trails or structures in public easements and unimproved rights of way pursuant to ORS 105.668, effective January 1st, 2026.
I second it.
All right, awesome. There's been a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2026-1A. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Motion passes. All righty, moving along. C, approve a proposed update to employee handbook, holiday pay.
This is just a little housekeeping. There was a little vagueness in our handbook around holiday pay. A few questions that came up. It was easier to change the language in order for everybody to be on the same page. This proposes an update. The changes are intended to improve clarity and consistency. It does not change the number of paid holidays, but does clarify how the holidays are observed and paid and how they're paid. We run a 365 days a year, 24/7 operation at the port. And a number in different departments work different days and different hours. So there really isn't what you would consider a standard weekend that the port observes, right? The only day we're not open is Christmas Day. So there's not really a standard sort of weekend that we observe. And so it made more sense for us to sort of approach it as your scheduled time off. So if we look at somebody like Genevieve, whose schedule is Monday through Thursday, her scheduled time off is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's not a weekend. We have some toll takers who work 410s, but they work 3 days on, take a day off, and then work their fourth day. So again, they don't really have per se a weekend, and that can fall on different times. So what we were sort of running into was the observance of certain holidays extending 3-day weekends and 3-day scheduled time off into 4 days off and potentially 5 days off, as well as some confusion around whether I had to work on a holiday. Does that mean everyone gets paid on the holiday, but if I had to work on a holiday, how does that pay out? It means you get your holiday pay and you get paid. Does that mean that the port then owes me another day off that's unpaid? So it became a little convoluted and confusing. We worked through it a couple of times with that confusion. But as we put together the schedule for this year and started looking at holidays, I was like, all right, well, that's going to pop up again. That's going to pop up again. So we decided let's clean up the language.
Does that mean I'll get Christmas off with pay?
Everyone, Christmas is a day that observed. So everyone who works for the port, whether you work that day or not, will be paid for.
Brad, you'll still get your $0 salary
Exactly.
as the port president.
Fair.
Yep. Notoriety will have to be enough.
I'll move to approve the proposed update to the employee handbook holiday policy as presented, including the revised policy language with an effective date of January 7th, 2026.
I second.
Okay, been a motion, a second to approve proposed update on the employee handbook. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Commissioner Lang, I'll bring this up real quick just
Excellent.
while we're moving into the next presentation. You'll notice that we have 2 meetings this month. We have 2 meetings next month. For the sake of time, I removed the executive director's report, which you'll continue to receive at our normal meeting. I also removed the commissioner roundup, so there isn't a specific time to call out commissioners to provide comments. So if that's something you guys want to do tonight, it's something you're gonna it's not on the agenda. We're not gonna call it out. So I just want to make sure everybody was aware of that before we move into the presentation.
All right. So the motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Travis.
Sure.
Moving along. We are now special presentations. Sternwheeler Winter Plan, Jim Andrews, Jetty Light.
Tommy, we won't be reaching out to you again this evening. So if you want to disconnect, we're done.
Recording in progress.
Thanks, Tommy.
Oh. I'm doing it on my computer, getting off my phone here.
And then Brad, before we wrap up at the end, I did have a question for the group, but I don't want to hold up the presenters. So.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Jim.
All right. Thank you for making some time on your agenda for me to speak with you. I've been working with Jeremiah on our plans for the winter for the Sternwheeler, and we thought we just got to a point where it made sense to brief the commission on where we are and just make sure that the commission feels comfortable with some of the operational decisions that we're making for the winter. And would it be okay to share my screen and go through the slide deck?
Give me one moment. Should be good.
Carrie Ann, is that sharing for you?
Yeah, yes.
It was. I think
It
it got
was.
minimized.
That'd be a good place to put the Sternwheeler for the winter.
There you go.
I might have a monitor problem.
I don't know what size monitor everybody's looking at right now, but I see that fairly clearly.
Sam,
The slide deck itself?
correct.
Okay. And if I advance the slide, you can see the next slide.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Well, great. Again, thank you. Just wanted to hit a couple of points on where we've been and where we were hoping to go and where we find ourselves and where we want to head to next. I just wanted to, for some of the commissioners that are new to the commission, the experiences we had in early 2024 have really set the stage for where we're headed now. To recap briefly, the Sternwheeler was blown off the dock in a 50-year or 100-year gale event. She broke all of her moorings. We were extremely lucky that she drifted on her own into the opening of the navigation locks here in Cascade Locks. And through some other incredible divine providence, we were able to put a crew on from the pedestrian bridge, fire the vessel up, and drive her away with really minimal damage for what you would expect for a storm event like that. The incident was investigated by the Coast Guard and the National Transportation Safety Board. Their findings are publicly available, but to summarize, we were in pretty much just ending year one of our contract. The mooring lines that we had were the mooring lines that we inherited. We did not really know or appreciate the age or the strength of the mooring lines that we had. We had prepared the vessel for a scheduled dry docking in March. And by prepared, I mean we had pumped off a lot of the fuel and all of the potable water. The potable water tank up forward is that's a 6-ton ballast load that was completely empty, and the tank was open. The hatches and access points were open to prepare us to do some work inside the tank. The vessel was moored up with what I would consider a pretty conservative mooring. We had 14 tie points from the dock to the vessel. And one of those was a galvanized chain. And this is a kind of a learning lesson for me. Galvanized chain is not typically something that a professional mariner would include in a mooring system, unless they had a practiced approach for doing that. Didn't realize until after the event that the chain was included in the mooring system. And I think that chain was a pretty big part of how we got to where we were. So in summary, the National Transportation Safety Board recommended that the sternwheeler begin and adhere to a practice of documenting and rotating mooring lines and tracking their age and dynamic loading, which we are now doing. All of the lines that are on the sternwheeler right now are at least 1.5 inch or greater double braided nylon. That's a very strong mooring. And this winter, all of the tanks are completely filled. The vessel is riding much lower in the water, and we continue to adjust the mooring frequently with our crew there in Cascade Locks, and also turn the vessel for the most part so that she's bow into the winds, especially for an east wind. So that's really what I wanted to share with the NTSB. And that brings us into this winter. One of the things that we had discussed on the back end of the incident was, since the weather can be somewhat unpredictable in the gorge, why don't we just plan to move the vessel down to Portland, Vancouver area? We can take advantage of the greater population in the winter. We can sell the sternwheeler over the holidays. And it seemed like a really good win-win for us to do that. So another aspect of this is in 2025, early 2025, when we brought the vessel down to Vancouver. We're not able to stay at the Vancouver terminal, the Terminal 1, because it's not suitable for overnight mooring. So we're required to move the vessel off of that mooring and go somewhere else. In that case, we went to JT Marine Shipyard. And what we learned from that experience was bringing the vessel to the shipyard is extremely expensive. Fortunately, we had a lot of reasons to be down and around the vessel. So we had crews on the vessel pretty routinely, even at the shipyard. and we were also selling the vessel from the Port of Vancouver. Regrettably, we learned pretty late in this season that the Port of Vancouver would not be able to support us this year. They were doing construction on their terminals, and they regretted that they couldn't help us. But basically, that eliminated our option for passenger operations in Vancouver. So we started in September, I believe, looking for alternatives. And my catchphrase for this was an uphill battle to go downriver. Here are all the options that we ran through. We looked at the breakwater in Portland, the Port of Camas and Washougal, 4 independent private marinas. We called Tidewater Marine, Vigor Shipyard, Port of Portland, the University of Portland, Portland Marine Museum, and OMSI. And all of those ended up being negative. Interestingly enough, several of them seemed amenable or even excited about the idea. And then as we got to the decision point, unanimously, they either backed down or found a reason why it wouldn't work. And so it was kind of a bust. In addition to looking downriver, we also looked upriver. We contacted the Dalles and Hood River. And Hood River had a viable option, but it was occupied. And the Dalles didn't really have an overnight viable option for us. So at that point, we're really left with the idea of bringing the vessel to JT Marine for $800 a day with no services. And really, that's just lines put to a spud barge. Really try to find out if there was a better way of doing that. At the same time, we also had some charters that we had sold in the Portland, Vancouver area that we were really eager to do because we wanted to keep that revenue, and we had planned to sell other days with the Christmas ships. And I confess we were pretty demoralized as we headed into early December. We were able to contact both of the private charter customers and encourage them or pay to incentivize them to get bussed up to the gorge. And we did perform those 2 private charters. And then as we were watching the weather, I'm sure everyone remembers the weather down in Portland and the Willamette was absolutely dangerous. Had we been successful in getting ourselves down to the Willamette, I'm pretty certain that the stern wheeler would have been in much worse condition than where she is right now at her home dock, and maybe even as bad a threat, although different than what we suffered in early 2024. My mouse here. The Willamette was, I think they said that was a 100-year storm there as well. The atmospheric river dumped feet of water that went into the river. The river expanded beyond its banks. There was, there was a sewage spill. There was a lot of heavy debris that was running down the river, and access to the dock areas would have been jeopardized or precluded. Unless we were fortunate enough to get the vessel turned around right away, we probably would have been stuck where we couldn't even get to the vessel, and she would have been subjected to this really dangerous condition. So sometimes we get even luckier, and we're thankful that our prayers were not answered. So at this point, as I mentioned to Jeremiah, we remain at our dock. We have looked at viable options to head downriver, and there are really 3 decent options that we see. One is we were able to get a hold of someone at the Port of Portland. There's a berth 502, which is at the confluence of the Willamette and the Columbia. The terminal itself is not used for cargo. The facility is leased to a customer that isn't using the dock for anything. The dock has about, I think, $750,000 of work that needs to be done to it. There's no electricity. The mooring arrangement is not ideal. It's tension wires that we would have to shackle into, which we could do. That's not a problem. It's just in order to allow the vessel to float with the tidal cycle, we would clip into those tension wires. It won't be free, but it will be a lot cheaper than $800 a day. And the real issue I have with it is it's so far from where the crew is. But if we had to get out of the gorge, that would be my first choice. If we didn't need to leave the gorge, another option that is really attractive that we're really trying to pursue is there is a pier at Bradford Island owned by the Army Corps of Engineers. It's a disused landing that the sternwheeler used to use before the prior operator took over operation. Captain Tom said that frequently they would take folks either from Cascade Locks and bring them down to the visitor center, or pick them up at the visitor center and do cruises out of there. The advantage there is it's in a really good protective lee from the northeasterlies. If you look at the geography here, so any winds, storm winds that are coming out of the northeast, they have a really good fetch run to come down the gorge before they kind of hit where we are. The slow here is where Table Mountain fell into the river. Some, I don't know, 600, 800, or forget what Tom said. It was like 600, 800 BC when that came down. But what it does is it creates a really attractive lee for us to be able to get on the other side of that run and get out of that northeasterly. Any winds out of anywhere other than the northeast, we ride really well at our dock, but it's those northeasterlies that we're most concerned with. And then the third option, as I mentioned, is the dock that we're currently at. And I think we have the ability to ride there quite safely through, I would say, even through conditions up to what we encountered in 2024, having addressed the other issues such as being light boat and having the old mooring lines and the chain in the mooring. But as a precaution, I think we'll continue to monitor the water levels. We'll continue to monitor the forecast winds. And if we can solve this piece with Bradford Island, that would be, I think, our best solution for the long term, is to be able to bounce over to that dock if needed. As I mentioned, you can see the relative distances. The Bonneville, Bradford Island is right about here, right around the corner from us. We can get to it very easily. All the other solutions, this being JT Marine and this being the Port of Portland facility, would require the crew to make quite a drive. And we really can't predict the kinds of conditions that they might be attempting that drive in. So that brought me to the point where I was discussing with Jeremiah. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't just it's not knee-jerk reacting, but just, now that we're looking at everything we've learned with the weather, it's clear to me that high winds aren't really the only danger that we have to plan for. The weather down in Portland this winter has made it clear that we can run into crap just about anywhere. And the real solution to that is by having the crew close by and being able to react to whatever it is the threat is. So with that, I'll show you a little bit more about Bradford Island. Here's that facility, as I mentioned. This is an overhead Google Map picture of it. It's in really good condition, considering that it's been disused for about 20 years. We've been by it. We've walked around it. We've taken a lot of pictures of it. We would like to get a survey of the mooring dolphins just to make sure that they're sound. But the floating dock is in really good shape. There's an aluminum gangway that runs from a couple of vertical supports down to the floating dock. Really good condition there. It would not be suitable for passengers to transfer, mainly because there's a rotted wood gangway that goes from the island to the aluminum gangway. If we wanted to use that facility for passengers, we would need to build that back up. So to conclude my presentation, as I mentioned, we're looking at more than just the winds in the gorge. We're looking at all the potential threats that might come at the sternwheeler. And we believe that the ones that created the situation for us in 2024 have been addressed, or we've positioned mitigators against those risks, mainly through our mooring line management and much more active monitoring of the vessel in the wintertime. And as I mentioned earlier, I believe that crew proximity and access to the vessel is the most crucial ingredient for making sure that she stays safe during the winter.
I'll also throw in a couple things before we turn this over to commission for questions. I always end with Captain Tom. Like
Always,
you can't have a bad presentation that ends with Captain Tom. As far as their monitoring goes, monitoring also includes the installation of a weather station down there that's accessible to Steve Caputo, the general manager, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So he's watching weather conditions as well as wind conditions. They also have cameras pointed at the boat. So that also is part of the monitoring that's occurring that previously was not. The other thing I will make sure the commission remembers is that anytime, I work with Jetty Light fairly frequently, different meetings about the boat, different discussions, different repairs, different ideas, etc. That presentation is made to me, then it's directly taken to Mark Troutman. Mark Troutman is our specific port sort of professional when it comes to the sternwheeler. And so all things sternwheeler get vetted through Troutman before it comes to the commission. That includes this presentation. So Mark Troutman was able to view this presentation, speak with Jim as well as Steve Caputo, talk about the options that were available. Mark Troutman said that he believes that the proper rigging and aggressive mooring, this can be accomplished. He also included the idea of spectra lines. I will let Jim weigh in on what a spectra line is, but bow, stern, and crisscrossed around the midship. That to him felt like that would also be an additional piece that we could add that would strengthen this even more. But generally, his feedback was that, with the size of the ship, with the fact that it was, a storm of every 50 years, and the locations that we have to take them also experiencing weather that, you're running away from the storms wherever you are, and wherever you are is the possibility of having a storm. So unless we have our own personal docks in multiple locations, we're always going to be at the whim of the dock owners. And Steve said that, or excuse me, Mark Troutman said, that's not unique to a lot of boat owners. So I just wanted to give his feedback before you guys hit Jim with any questions you have.
I'll make a quick little comment here. So over Christmas, they were predicting winds in the gorge, and Steve had planned to head south to California and basically blew his whole Christmas plans because he was keeping crew on standby, had 4 people on standby, and he stayed around to keep a very close eye on the sternwheeler. So that shows me that, doing everything they can to make sure that the boat is safe, and that, of course, none of the winds materialized at all. It's while he was waiting. So, made me feel good that they're absolutely doing everything they can, including wrecking his own plans in order to make sure our boat is safe. So,
and I think that's also worth notating, just because I work closely with Jetty Light. I think everybody in this room, Jetty Light included, was a big fan of Caden Pond and the work that he did for the port and Jetty Light. I still remain in contact with him and consider him a friend. I also think that we gained valuable years of experience in terms of maritime knowledge with Steve. That's not particularly included as one of the changes that was made because Caden left on his own. That wasn't a change that was implemented. It's one that I feel lucky that Jetty Light was able to get. So we also gained, I don't know what Steve's got, at least 30 years of maritime experience, and so he sees the boat with a little bit different eyes than Caden does. So I think that's another piece that we didn't intentionally do. Maybe you did. Maybe you intentionally went out and looked for a guy with that much experience, but we have him, and it's certainly inspires more confidence to have somebody with that experience manning the boat, watching it during Christmas. This one is strictly a presentation. There's no action items to take, but it is your opportunity to pepper Jim with any questions that you may have, any concerns that you may have, and their opportunity to speak to those.
I'm going to go ahead and just jump in. The stern wheeler means a lot to this community, and we all, as the Port Commission, really stuck our neck out for Jetty Light to get this contract. You guys have dodged a couple of bullets. You guys are not magicians, and to speak freely, waiting until September to start looking for winter locations feels a little bush league to me. It feels like you should have been doing this significantly earlier, and we wouldn't be in this situation. We've been incredibly lucky that the weather has been as calm as it has this year. We have got some really good wind gusts, but we haven't got any snow yet. So once again, you've dodged a bullet, but I feel like we're playing with fire by not getting in front of this significantly sooner and more responsibly than we have.
Well, I certainly, Commissioner, I definitely appreciate your perspective, and I echo the sentiment about how important the stern wheeler is. I would say that I don't think if we had started in May or June that it would have had much difference. I spoke with Jeremiah in probably April, and he expressed an interest in finding a property that the port could potentially make an offer. So I personally started looking for properties, waterfront properties that the port could potentially buy and develop for the stern wheeler as early as probably early May, and found some properties, but none of them were suitable or would have worked for us. I guess I just want to say that the stern wheeler is the operation. There's always a lot to do, and we were fortunate, as you mentioned. We got very lucky with a couple of bounces that went our way. I don't like relying on luck. I prefer to rely on preparation, and
Exactly.
this is one of those that all we can do is say, we're going to learn from this and do better in the future.
Is there any type of mortgage in the Gresham area? Because I know that there's Sundial Marine is down in Troutdale, Gresham area, and I don't know if there's other mortgage spots there. I know there are boathouses or whatever along there, Big Eddie's Marine and that sort of thing. So I don't know if there's places that could be available there. I have no idea, but I saw that was not on your list of places that you checked.
Yep, that's correct. So at the time that, in hindsight, we can say, here's all the places that we could have looked. But as we were stepping into it going forward in time, we were still committed to trying to find a way to get a berth either in Vancouver, which was my preference, or in the Willamette, so that we could be close to a place to serve our passengers. It wasn't really until maybe November, when the light started to dawn on us that our passenger operation opportunity is probably now gone by. And at this point, we're just looking for viable mooring options. So our search intent and our need changed the more disappointments we encountered. We started really looking for one thing, and we gravitated towards, we'll take whatever we can get that's safe. And we still, even with that, were unable to find something that would work. There may be some private docks up in the Gresham area that we didn't look at. I would say that they're probably, if Bradford Island doesn't work out, then I think those need to be on the table.
Gotcha.
Again,
Yeah, I'm not really
what we're trying to
of-
find is something that is safe, that gets us out of the wind, but still gives us the proximity to the crew.
Gotcha. Because right now it feels like for the last few months we've been crossing our fingers. And yes, the crew's here, but what if it happens in the middle of the night? Again, we were pretty lucky that it happened whenever we had the break. It happened early morning time when someone was able to see it. We don't have someone watching those cameras 24 hours a day when storm comes through. Right? So, like, to me, we're playing with fire right now, and I hope that nothing happens to the sternwheeler, and I also hope that you all are already thinking of winter 2026, 2027, and what's going to happen there. Because right now this is like I said, this is just bush league. Like, you guys, you said September, you guys should have already been calling people back in March. You guys know that this is happening. You know the winters here are tough, especially after the boat broke loose.
Yes, sir.
So chime in real quick. I appreciate the efforts you guys have made about trying to learn from the past experience. Everything from filling the tanks and first of all, taking a look at what some of the missteps were at the beginning, having the boat floating high in the water because of all the water being pumped out and the fuel out and aged tie downs. I appreciate the assessment of where you guys were and the honesty of what happened. I think that's helpful as a baseline. I also, it sounds like you guys were getting additional coaching about things to do through the different assessments that happened as an event follow-up. I think that was great. And then, of course, taking the proactive steps going forward to do it. Is there any indications from some of the experts, if there is such a people specific on tying stuff down, that could give any additional coaching that could allow us to keep it in place and feel confident that even on a extreme weather event, that it could actually weather the storm right there by being, extra methods of tying it down above and beyond what we're already doing?
Yes, sir. So as I mentioned, Captain Caputo has a lot of that experience, but we've also got the name of a mooring master from Mark Troutman, who he's the gentleman that recommended going with Spectra lines, and Spectra lines are basically synthetic molecule. They're not nylon. They're a long chain synthetic molecule that, as you stretch it, it actually becomes stronger. The danger with a Spectra line is when they part immediately. There's usually no, like, if a nylon line is going to part, it will stretch and then it will ping and it will even smoke, and that will give you some indications that that line is preparing to part. With Spectra lines, there's no notice. Once it loads, it just falls away. Either way, the line has parted, so you still have to deal with that, but it's just a different indicator if it's going to fail. They do, however, have much greater tensile strength and dynamic strength. Like They don't stretch near as much as nylon. They're much, much stronger than nylon. The other, the challenge there is that mooring of the vessel. It's a system. There's a fixed point on the boat. There's the line. Then there's a fixed point on the dock. If the forces get strong enough, something in there is going to part. And for us in 2024, that was the line and the chain. Were we to opt into spectral lines for mooring, and we would only use those for a storm event, those would not be our routine lines. But if we were to go with spectral lines and the force was great enough, something else would be the thing that parts, whether that's the shackle to the dock or the cleat on the stern wheeler. The objective is to get that entire system strong enough that whatever forces it encounters aren't enough to part one of the components.
And in your assessment, should we still be trying to look to move the boat in the future? Or is that your thinking that what we're doing is going to get us by, but what we ultimately need to do is find another home in the winter?
I think what we need to do is we need to find an alternative to where we can get off the stern wheeler dock if we're forecast for 75 knot or greater wind out of the northeast. I think that the boat, it can, in my opinion, had the boat been heavy and had the lines been new, it would have stayed on the dock even in the 2024 event.
So I'm gonna ask a dumb question. I apologize for interrupting, but is it not possible that the storm's gonna come, that we can pay 3 guys to jump on the boat 3 days for 3 days, drop anchor somewhere that's out of the system, and they just hang out on the boat for? I know that's expensive, but is that take it for a stroll, boys? Like, is that not possible to just take it somewhere, drop anchor, and hang out somewhere in the river?
I don't know that. I think my preferred option there, Jeremiah, would be to take the boat down to Port of Portland and tie it up there and ride out whatever's happening up in the gorge and then bring it back. Having the vessel at anchor is just a little bit less, I'll call it work, or a little bit less attentiveness than being underway. Once we're moored up, the whole crew can respond to something if it comes up. And the Coast Guard has a 12-hour rule where we can't work a crew more than 12 hours. We can if it's an emergency, but we would need to start rotating crews, which we could and would do. But I just think if you were to ask me, would I rather anchor in the river or go more up in Portland, I would say let's take the boat to Portland.
Quick question on December, January operations. Is it a goal of Jetty Light to do holiday Christmas cruises?
Yes.
On the Willamette? Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner Nance has thought about planning for the future. And that also tags onto what Genevieve just said. Is there already plans in place to maybe find a home for winter of 2026, 27, and also already start planning for Christmas tours and kind of mapping that out this far out? Is that possible?
Yes, sir. So we're looking at two kind of competing options at this point. One is Hood River, and the other is the Port of Vancouver. Those are the two options that we're investigating for December of 2026.
Yeah, it's kind of the situation where we're at right now. I just kind of echo what Commissioner Nance was talking about, just being a little bit more proactive, and might as well take advantage of what's coming in 26, 27, and being ready for it.
Just a quick question for the commission, since Jim brought it up. We did talk back in April about potential we talked about this exact scenario. What if we, Port of Vancouver was a bit of a surprise, at least it was to me. Commissioner Nance likes to call these side quests, and so I was wanted to make sure I didn't go off on much of a side quest, so stuck it very much on Jetty Light to look for properties that may exist in which the port could construct another a dock. Is that a line of thinking? Obviously we wouldn't have just bought property. We'd have came back and said, hey, this is a potential problem that we could solve by doing this. We didn't get very far with it because we never found property, but now we're also facing this situation. Should the port be looking for property in which to dock our boat in these situations? I mean, we don't have the money? Do we have the money for it? Not really. Is there grants available for it? Possibly. Is it going to go in the strategic business plan? No. But is it something that we want to keep sort of in the sphere of consideration, or should we just cross it off the list? It would be nice if it would have been nice if come December I could have said to you guys, hey, we're stuck, but we have located this piece of property in which we could solve this. Then you guys could vote and say yes or no, but there would need to be work that went into that. And I didn't do much work to go into it because they found no property, but I think it's a question to ask this commission.
I mean, even if we found the property, we would still have to build something there, right? I mean,
Correct.
we would buy the property and then anchor up, and then we would be in the same situation that you just asked about anchor versus a dock.
We'd have to construct a dock. We'd have to just construct a dock.
To be honest, just a shout out real quick. I'm not excited about it because I'm just guessing what the cost could be. And the whole running of the stern wheel is not very profitable as is. So I mean it puts us really in a bad spot, not to mention it takes resources away from other projects that we have, unless we got free money somewhere from some Genevieve got some free money going on there. Unless we had free money to try to do that, I would probably, not be in favor of it. I would rather pursue what Jim was talking about trying to take it down into Portland, Vancouver, have the cost for storage down there be offset by some of the Christmas cruises, so it's kind of paying for itself to store in a different location. I'd be more excited about pursuing that option than going down this whole other thing. Plus, also, what Commissioner Nance has already kind of pointed out is going to take time to buy the land, build the stuff. So now all of a sudden we're talking 27, 28 by the time you do the end water things for the Corps of Engineers and everything else that goes along with it. This is a long project,
Right.
long and costly. So,
And I'd agree with that as well.
Sounds like a little cross that off the list, Jim. Not that we worked super hard on it.
Yep.
but don't let me speak for the rest of the commission. Travis, Carrie, you guys have any comments? Feel free to
I
shout
concur
them
with
out.
you.
Yeah, I would need a consensus in order to pursue that. So even just the work of doing it. So we're good. All of the reasons not to do it were certainly ones we kicked around. So makes perfect sense to cross that off the list, and that's just as good too because it keeps us from chasing our tail. So.
All right. Well, Jim, I appreciate.
Well, actually, just to jump back in. So, Jim, what are the next steps? You had mentioned a couple of things. What is your option A, option B, and option C?
So currently we are mooring the sternwheeler at the sternwheeler dock and monitoring weather and moving the vessel off of the sternwheeler dock if we have forecast winds exceeding 75 knot gusts. If we have to do that, we'll be taking the vessel down below the locks. If we believe that the weather will pass relatively quickly within a 12-hour period, we'll moor up to the tug moorings down below the locks and then bring the boat back. If we think the weather is going to persist for greater than 12 hours, then we just continue to head down river and go to the Port of Portland and make that work.
Well, we appreciate the time and you give us an update on your plans and what we're doing moving forward.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity, and I appreciate your trust.
Thanks, Jim.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just a reminder, Commissioner Dodd had something he wanted to talk about before we wrap up.
Okay.
Yeah, this is more just to get everybody's pulse check. I was thinking about this big celebration we have, a 100-year celebration. Something I don't know if we've thought about. It might be a good idea. It's good timing in my mind, is to maybe redesign our logo for Port of Cascade Locks. I came up with a couple of concepts just to kind of get people thinking. I don't know if Jeremiah, if you want to share those with everybody eventually, but first of all, I just want to test the water that, is anyone totally headstrong about we have to keep the old logo, or should we kind of refresh it a little bit and even if it's temporary for a year, change it so it has a little bit more pep and a little bit more reflect the 100-year celebration coming up. I don't know, thoughts, comments?
As a professional advertiser and marketer, I always love a good logo project. But also as a 20-year career in advertising, I know that oftentimes they take a substantial amount of time and money to make them happen. And I don't know, I know that we had a list of all of the potential publications that were in the agenda here. But I don't know when their material due date is for those. So I'm not against it, but it would have to be fast, is what I'm getting at, and relatively cheap.
Yeah, didn't you just order a whole bunch of hats and vests and stuff for us with the new or the original logo?
You did. I did.
Yeah.
Good idea. But as
Do like the idea though.
yeah, I'm picturing a white silhouette of the bridge, maybe a little more accurate than the one that we currently have, with a the original Bridge of the Gods land bridge in gray behind it. So
Hey,
gray
Ted,
and white.
Ted, do you have your examples? I only have them on text. I was looking at my email, but they're in text.
Okay, let me see if I've got those.
If you want to share them.
Yeah. I think you guys might be able to see this concept. Did it come and go? Is it still there?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you take something like that to a professional graphic designer and say, "This is our theme, this is our concept." You'll probably get back some pretty terrific logos to choose from. It does. One of my least favorite things on earth is art by committee. It is the most difficult thing possible. But so also would be difficult from a skill set standpoint that we have at the port right now. When Brittany Berge worked for us, she was a graphic designer, and so these things came kind of easy. Genevieve has an artistic flair, but we'll tell you right away that graphic design is not it. So we would need to go out to have somebody create this. I think that almost everything that's created by AI is fantastic for coming up with a concept that you take to a real graphic designer. That's my own personal opinion. I think it's a great place to sort through lots and lots of ideas until you get something where you go, yeah, that's getting there. That's sort of my feedback on it. Genevieve happens to love our current logo. I've never liked our current logo, so we're kind of split on that. This really just comes down to a sort of a commission preference, and then I'll start looking at who we could use. I think Albert probably has some great ideas of people who are good at logos, and then attach a cost to it and a timetable, and then it would be a little bit: is this a permanent new logo for us, or is it a temporary logo? If it's permanent, I would say it's probably going to be a slow rollout where things, obviously our signatures and our emails change quickly. Our business cards change as we run out of them. Some of the signage that we have around the port, maybe that doesn't get taken down immediately and replaced with a new logo. I would say it's probably a slow rollout. But I could be, I could be swayed there too.
So what you're saying is the 1,000 business cards that we all got, we need to be passing out a heck of
So those are just my immediate questions. I would come back to. I would get this on the agenda, and I would come back to the commission with it, and I'd have a few things solved for us to bring it to an actual vote. And so, really, what I'm looking for now would be sort of a consensus from the commission to be like, yeah, Jeremiah, go spend some time on this. We're not saying yes to it. We're not saying no to it. That needs an actual action. But I also need to have at least consensus from the commission to do work. If I don't have commission consensus from this, then Ted would need to make an actual motion. We need to vote on it.
So Ted, are you thinking that it would just be for the event, or do you think it would be a brand new logo for Port of Cascade Locks versus celebration 100-year anniversary of Cascade Locks?
Discounting all the work that's involved to make this change, and I understand there's a lot of work involved in it.
Yeah.
I don't think the current logo represents the cool factor that we really could be displaying. So in an ideal world, if money and time and energy did not matter, I would say yes, it would make it a permanent change. Use the 100-year celebration as the justification or reason or the reason why we'd want to update it. We would maybe have a temporary modified one that has 100-year on it, and then a version of that after the celebration is over that we just shift to. So maybe that allows us also to do a slow rollout where not everything's replaced right away. Like we do a temporary that gets us through, through this 100-year celebration, and then we have the complete rollout into the new logo. But that's time, money, energy. Do we want to do it? Is it important enough to do it? Do we think people would be opposed to this concept or supportive of this concept? Like I say, in an ideal world, I would say, yeah, I think it'd be fun adventure to go on. But I'm not headstrong that we have to do it. So more of an idea for discussion for everybody to ponder.
I kind of like the idea of a fresh new look. I mean, we got a fresh new commission. We're doing great new things, and it'd be nice to represent that with, a new look.
I'm kind of indifferent. I think it's not really a priority with everything else we have going on, and it would cost a lot of time and money to do an update like that. And we do have already artwork and stuff that we're pushing for the 100-year anniversary that we spent money on.
Travis, any thoughts?
I'm open to the idea. I think it's cool. I mean, even if it doesn't become a new logo, you could use those as posters for the centennial or something like that as well. It doesn't. I mean, but yeah, I'm open to the idea of a new logo for sure. We can do something graffiti oriented or something.
Yeah, I'm open to it too. I think that the evolution that Cascade Locks has, as well as the Port of Cascade Locks. Obviously, we're known for the bridge and we're known for the stern wheeler, but I mean, I talk with tourists all the time, and the reality is that Cascade Locks has a lot more to offer than the bridge and the stern wheeler, right? Like we put a lot of time and effort and money into the climb system. We have a ton of PC like hiking. We're like known globally for the PCT hiking, so it feels like there's a lot of opportunity to really better represent ourselves in all the things that we have to offer. So I think that could be a nice way a nice reason to revisit what the logo looks like. But again, I think just to everyone's point, it comes down to time and money, right?
And then the other last comment too, is that thinking ahead, we've got this new RV park coming, and we could have this new logo in preparation for that. So, and of course, there'll be a lot of marketing involved in that, as well as more marketing within the city. So, for other activities. So, but like I say, I guess Jeremiah,
With,
you got a lot
without,
of extra time on your
with,
side.
without a motion, which I don't know that we need one, but without a motion, I'm most comfortable going back and finding out price and timeline from you guys, putting that in an agenda to provide you more information on how long this is going to take. And I think I can have that by the second meeting, how long, or the next meeting, how long this is going to take and what it would cost with an action item to pursue this project. Generally, I think now there's enough interest for people to want more information, specifically how long is it going to take and what's it going to cost. That shouldn't take me too long to bring back to the commission, put it in an action item, and then from there you guys decide whether we move forward. But
I feel like just one more thought on it is that we tabled some other ideas that I thought were to freshen up our look, like getting the new Bridge of the God sign. We had looked at stuff like that and would love to pursue freshening up stuff we currently have like that as well. So we keep bringing these new ideas to freshen our looks, but we haven't really pursued any of the ones that have already been on the table that I think some of us are still interested in as well. So we have to determine what budget we have and how we can move forward with multiple possibilities.
thank you for bringing up the Bridge of the Gods sign. That actually was a topic at the staff meeting this last Tuesday. It is still on our radar. It is still within the strategic business plan of something what we hope to accomplish. It has taken a backseat a bit to some of the other projects that we're working on, but it's not something that we have forgotten this commission desires to move forward. You will see the Econ Northwest project for this comprehensive land and development plan wrap up this next month, which will leave us a little bit more room to start pursuing other projects. Genevieve has about 10 of them on her desk that she's aching to get started on, but that also remains one of our high priorities. So I apologize, I haven't talked about it in a while, but it is not off our radar.
And Carrie, you mentioned projects. What other projects that are you thinking about?
That was the main one.
Carrie's also brought up updated signage within the a number of times, so I want to make sure that you don't think that left my radar either, Carrie. Updated signage within the park itself. We have some wood plank signs that are like between two pillars that are routed out that are a little bit past their prime. She's discussed those before as being an easy fix or something we should be looking at. I will tell you that the Marine Park sign is on its last legs. It was on its last legs the last time we fixed it, and that was 2 years ago. It's still on its last legs, so that is a sign that's going to need to be replaced sooner rather than later as well. It might be time for me and staff to look at sort of a comprehensive what do we need to look at for updating signage in the park and having a fresh new look. You will see that there is a new one when you come down here. Genevieve and Parker just installed it the other day. That outlines ordinances within the park a little bit more clearly, has a map. So, we have done some things to freshen up those signs, but some of the ones Carrie specifically called out as needing help have not been yet.
Not to get in too deep into this, but something when we're talking about signage and stuff like that, I think that we could do a lot better job with the events that are up. I know we got them on our website and then social media and stuff like that, but if we could do something physically on the street so people know when things are coming, when events are coming, something similar to what the school or the churches do. I mean, maybe not the same, but like something where, we have these events that come through town, and sometimes you're like, hey, what's going on at the port? Oh, they're running an ultra, or oh, there's people don't even know when we have bike races and things like that happening. If there's some way that we can get it out to our community, like a sign, like something to.
It's interesting you bring that up because it was something I was kind of noodling on for the last couple of days. In my mind, I couldn't decide whether or not it was the events sort of responsibility or the porch responsibility. That's kind of blur sometimes because the event is making money off of it. We're taking advantage of the economic development, the tourism piece of it. So it is a bit of a partnership, but it kind of blurs the lines. One thing this port has never really taken advantage of as much as we could is the opportunity to hang banners on the Bridge of the Gods. The only banner that goes up is the garage sale banner. Brenda Woods comes down here every year, pulls it out of her garage. It requires an ODOT. It requires ODOT to sign off on it. So there's a little process that you go through, but it's not an extreme process. Um, but my question where I kind of got stuck is this a thing that I explained to the event itself, hey, there's an opportunity for you to do this, or is this something that I sort of take under, our own thing? We go, it's our bridge, we know how it works, we hold on to the banners, we put them up every year, that kind of thing. So that that visibility piece that you're talking about, I was just kind of noodling on that. But I think the bridge signs could be huge.
Agreed. Yeah.
Something as simple as those bridge signs could be templatizable, especially with a lot of the different things that we have going on. And to the topic that Commissioner Dodd brought up, like it'd be great to have a new logo on there, or some sort of representation of the town and what is going on. So
we are also looking at a grant. And I wasn't fully sold on it. I'm a little more sold on it now that the commission sort of offered some feedback. It would have come to you eventually anyway. But a grant, I said, what grant is that, Genevieve? The Centennial one for the flags?
Yeah, that's just the America 250 grant. So it's a real quick application. Maximum award is $5,000. Laurel had suggested, or the Main Street Committee had suggested that we apply and utilize that money for the Centennial flags that hang on the city light posts. Kind of where all the snowflakes are right now, switch that out and have flags for the Centennial.
And then those flags.
I'd really like to see Centennial Bridge flags up there, if possible, too. I don't know how we would go about doing that, but
that's sort of what it would be. It would be because we're doing it through that America 250 grant. We would say, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to install these flags with our celebration of the Bridge of the Gods and the 250 celebration. But then those the mechanisms that hold those flags when the flags come down remain. And so there's opportunities to hang other flags up, like PCT days, like whatever that specific thing is.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I think if we could do the artwork that was created for the Centennial on some of the flags and have the artwork and then alternating between like one that's just artwork, one that says like 100-year Bridge of the Gods, 100-year anniversary, United States, 250 or bicentennial or whatever.
Anyway, so that's something you guys might see coming soon as well, and speaks to Travis's wanting to point out more stuff in the city, and also maybe that banner program. I'll come up with a concept to bring to the commission on that.
Nice.
So just to round back up, I have consensus to move forward and get more information on the commission to make a decision on a logo. And the information I'm coming back with is timeline and pricing. They'll both be, general. I'll go to 2 or 3 people, give them generally what we're thinking about, get a quote or a bid. Those things will happen.
Pricing include like the time and labor that it'll take, timeline and labor it would take to replace the logo on every single thing that it would need replacing on?
That would be a lot.
Well, I think we need a full picture of what it would cost to change our logo.
No, you're totally right. You're totally
didn't
right.
it just cost like an estimated $1 billion to change the Department of Defense to Department of War? So, just
okay. So with that additional piece of work that you're asking us to do, which we can, and it's not a problem, I'd be more comfortable with a motion from the commission with a vote directing us to go and do this work. So if someone wants to make a motion to bring back a report on timeline, that includes what it would be to switch it out, and the number of things, like that's a little deeper dive than making 2 or 3 phone calls. And I just want to make sure that I have enough of the commission in a vote sort of standpoint to feel confident that I'm doing what's wanted.
Well, one thing that we're thinking about too is that this wouldn't be an immediate rollout. I mean, I wouldn't expect that we'd go through and everybody immediately gets brand new business cards and every single sign we have everywhere on side of vehicles and everything else gets changed out. I would be more thinking that this would be phased in, probably starting with more tourist facing type of things, and then eventually, like I say, after the 100-year celebration, that we start moving into the new logo. It's kind of like we have two logos kind of operating at the same time. um I don't know. That's kind of one comment I was going to make, and then a side comment that's not related to any of this, but I just want to say it is that if we do get venture down this line of changing a logo, I would love to get everybody's kind of commitment that we're not going to micromanage it, so that it's literally we have somebody that goes and gives us three options and we select one of those options and we don't pick it apart, that kind of thing. Or five options and we narrow one, but we don't keep saying, well, if you change this thing here and here and micromanage, and then we end up being committee art by a committee is not going to work. But I'd love to hear, Commissioner Nance's perspective based on his background. What's your thoughts on this?
As someone that has lived their entire career within advertising, I absolutely love that you said that, because micromanaging and moving, pixel pushing, as it's often called, is definitely the death knell for great work.
But do we feel that we need to, Carrie, are you okay if we didn't do a deep dive in it, knowing we're going to bring this out, say over 2 to 3 years?
One thing I will say as far as the slow rollout is oftentimes it's confusing for a lot of people to have two logos that are kind of simultaneously alive, and that can bring in some confusion with folks that don't necessarily know the difference or aren't necessarily super familiar with the entity, whether it's Porter Cassie Locks or whoever, right? So they're the best practice would be a changeover for everything. That would be best practice. But if money is the object and time is the object, then or the objective, then that is something that others have definitely done.
Is everybody comfortable with me bringing back additional information to the best of my ability by the next meeting to help us make a decision?
Yes.
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 It's a little loose, but it gives me enough room to for someone to ask a question at the next meeting and be like, I don't know, I didn't get that I didn't get that answer.
I'm good with that.
I'm
good
happy
with
to
it.
help you with that too as well, Jeremiah. I have I know locals as well as, depending on how involved we want to be with this. I know agencies as well as individuals that would be able to do this, and we can make sure that it's reasonable cost and give them the proper direction.
We should
And
at least have some
as
kind of
mentioned,
list of where our logos,
Oh yeah, for
where
sure.
all the logos are currently that we would need to update eventually.
And,
For sure.
and that's one of the things that's gonna, and it's not bad, it's good. But I want to make sure you guys understand the can of worms that's going to open, which is a good can to open, but the can that it is going to open is there exists at least 4 different logos on port property that have happened over the course of 10 to 15 to 20 years of different commissions saying, hey, we'd like to do a slow rollout of a new logo. So if you look at like Marine Park, there's a Marine Park logo. And that's the other thing, the port's kind of, we struggle with when do we say we're the Port of Cascade Locks? And when is the logo of Marine Park? Like when you have like in PCT days, does he want to put Port of Cascade Locks or does he want to put Marine Park? You have the locks, which is our events and weddings. We use a different logo for that. It kind of makes sense because it's the campground doesn't maybe has a logo. So it just opens this weird can of worms that for me, I've always hated the logo, and I'm the guy that wants to come up with the brand new logo, pull everything down and put it on everything across the board and be like, we did it.
I haven't liked any of our logos.
We have a really huge
Marine Park or any of the others.
if you drive around, you'll see we have a really huge hodgepodge it's not consistent. It doesn't tie together. It isn't well done. There definitely was no thought that went into like what is our branding across the board. So that becomes a bigger conversation. But I also think that we could miss the mark by doing a new logo and sort of going down that same path as these previous commissions where it's logo number 6 that made it to a few places, and then a new commission came in and they wanted to do a new logo, and it's just logos everywhere. So as much as it's expensive and painful to rip the Band-Aid, it's also kind of what allows you guys to say this is the new logo of the port, and have it be a decision that is carried on after you guys.
Hey, once you give me a tour of the port properties, you can point out all the different port logos.
Wow.
I know
I'll do that.
Albert was mentioning that now that he's self-employed, he has so little to do that he really wants to take this on.
Yeah.
That he's,
Nothing gives you less to do in life than being self-employed.
all right. If there's nothing else to come before the commission, I'll say we're adjourned.
I'll have a great presentation for you guys. Maybe at the next meeting, maybe at the first meeting in February, only because you guys have a really packed agenda in the January meeting. But if I can get it done, I will. And we can fit it, we'll get it.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Have a good night,
All right.
commissioners.
Have a good evening.